Fox News alert over the Black Sea, where we're learning a Russian fighter jet, much like the one you have on your screen here, crossed within 50 feet in front of a U.S. Navy spy plane on Saturday. And sources tell us the intercept lasted 24 minutes. It's the latest known Russian provocation since an armed Russian jet came within 5 feet of a U.S. aircraft over the Baltic Sea in June. Let's bring in former U.S. ambassador to the UN, John Bolton. He's also a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a Fox News contributor. Ambassador Bolton, good to see you. What do you make of this latest provocation coming from Russia?
Well, I think it's part of a long series of similar kinds of maneuvers. Let's not underestimate how dangerous these are, these kinds of incidents at sea when you have planes and ships traveling at high speeds and close distances. It just takes the blink of an eye and you could have real trouble. I think it's part of a pattern that Vladimir Putin has been demonstrating for the past several years. I think he is pushing against the constraints that that Russia's felt over the past several years, and especially during the Obama administration, to see how far he could go. I think it's interesting he's still pressing in the Trump administration, and I think what it tells us, both with respect to these provocations at sea, but also in the bigger question in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, in the Far East, as Putin tries to expand Russian influence, how we're going to counter it, how we're going to deal with it. Because I do think American interests are adversely affected by this new Russian assertiveness.
Our reporter, our Fox News reporter, reporting this, the Russian plane came in screaming at full after burner crossing in front of the U.S. Navy spy plane at just 50 feet, Ambassador. You talk about just how dangerous this was. 50 feet. And the provocation lasted 24 minutes.
Yeah. Look, this is unacceptable. We actually have a treaty with Russia dating back to the Cold War, the Incidents at Sea Treaty, that deals with buzzing of American ships. And I think our military knows full well just how dangerous and provocative this is. I'm not saying we necessarily respond in kind, but we need to respond very firmly, very clearly. This is unacceptable behavior. I just think we need to understand this is really the tip of the spear for Putin. It's the larger provocations against the Ukrainian government, for example, threatening the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, pushing on the eastern flank of NATO, asserting Russian interest in Syria and elsewhere. This is part of a larger pattern, and I think a failure to respond in a very, very firm way just encourages Putin.
And rhetoric is obviously key when it comes to the president and his dealings with the Pentagon and responding to this type of provocation. And this is the first of its kind that we have seen dating back to June. And Ambassador Bolton, a lot has happened and a lot has changed since then. Of course, the president just returning from that lengthy overseas trip to Asia. What would you like to hear from the president specifically in response to this? What could he say?
Well, I think a public statement that this conduct by the Russian military is utterly unacceptable and that the United States will take steps in the Baltic, in the Black Sea, the two areas where these have been most visible, to make it clear that we're going to sail where we want to sail and we're going to fly where we want to fly in international airspace. But I think this has to be conveyed at behind-the-scenes channels as well, because the danger here is that a blink of an eye, 50 feet is nothing at those altitudes and speeds. Wow. You could have dead Americans. And the stakes go up very, very high, very, very quickly when that happens. Putin is really, he's beyond pressing the envelope here. So I think more military assistance to Ukraine, more military presence in the Baltic republics. I think we need to show the Russians we are not going to be pushed away from their frontiers.
Ambassador, always good to get your analysis. Thank you.